G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to talk about the Chinese tech tree and the problems that people have with it. Now, a lot of people have complained, and to some extent rightly so, that the Chinese tech tree is pretty much copy-paste of vehicles that are currently in the game. Now, this is a little bit upsetting, but at the same time, you have to realize that there are a couple of things that made this a reality. Many of you people remember videos of the Chinese tech tree on YouTube, and the one that was perhaps on the Chinese server rather than actually in the main build of the game. This particular tree had some really interesting vehicles. It had some things that we had never seen before in the main game, and in the comment sections of these videos, you saw a lot of people saying that they wanted them. They wanted to see these planes in the game. They wanted a Chinese tech tree. They want an international tech tree. They want this, that, and the other. Gaijin sees this and they go, yep, easy. What we're going to do is we're going to put a Chinese tech tree in the game. We have a lot of Chinese people coming to the game. You can see by you can pretty much tell by the names. You can tell by the squadrons written in all Chinese. It's pretty obvious that there is a growing Chinese population, as in Chinese nationals, whether that be, Taiwanese, mainland Chinese, Hong Kong, etc. These people are coming to the game. They're picking the game up and they're playing it. And I'm sure some of them have even subscribed to this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. But you can see that what Gaijin has done is they've appealed to two bases here. They've appealed to the people in the videos that have gone up on YouTube of previous Chinese builds. They want to see Chinese tech trees. They've also appealed to the Chinese people who play the game and would like to see their nation in the game. As I understand it, as an outsider looking in, it looks like the Chinese are extremely nationalist, meaning that they love their country a lot, and to see the Chinese tech tree in the game would just mean that Gaijin is making them very happy. It's almost like seeing an Australian tank being added to the game for me. It's a sense of national pride, if you will. It's something that we can all, as Australians, look towards and go, yes, our country designed those tanks. We use them in combat. Or maybe we, actually put together the ingenuity to build these things. Or we somehow managed to muster up the industry. Or regardless, it does not matter where these vehicles came from, whether it be the Soviet Union, the United States, Great Britain, or from native China itself, or even its mortal enemy, Japan. It's incredible that the Chinese tech tree is actually coming to the game, because it gives Gaijin an extra revenue source. That's a big thing. Now, one of the things that we need is more stuff. Gaijin needs to be a bigger company. And the way that they can be a bigger company is by putting extra premiums out that are really easy. You could almost recycle flight models. You just add a new skin, put it in the tech tree, and it's done. But one of the main reasons why this has come to the quote-unquote Western build is because we as a community decided that we wanted it. 6 months ago, a year ago, whenever Fly does his Chinese tech tree videos, thanks to his Chinese subscribers, these videos are what fuel the fire. People said on Reddit threads, on the forums, in YouTube video comment sections that they wanted new nations. And they also said that they wanted to see the Chinese nation added. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ask, be careful what you wish for, because you might actually get it. The Chinese tech tree is not to be blamed on Gaijin as a lazy asset flip. If anyone is to be so-called blamed for the Chinese tech tree, it is the community. The community wants it, so Gaijin, from their perspective, see it as some easy way to make the community happy, an easy way to make money, and an easy way to add more vehicles to the game for people at the end game to continue to grind. Because let's face it, once you've unlocked all the planes, spading them isn't exactly really fun. It's not a tangible goal that you can look towards. Getting the extra Chinese vehicles, adding them to your hangar, is extremely more satisfying. It's just way more satisfying. For me, who's towards the end game of War Thunder, you could call it, I've unlocked pretty much every plane and almost every tank, and I don't care for ships. So what else is there for an endgame player like myself, like Napalm, like some of the Eurus and OP guys, some of the Russian guys who play tournaments, who have unlocked everything? What is there for these people? And a Chinese tech tree is a very easy way to just get more of this grind. And it's a good grind for people who want to grind. If you don't want to play the Chinese tree, you're not really missing out on much. So you don't really have to play it. There's nothing particularly game-breaking. There's no brand new mechanic. There's no so-called power creep. There are like 1 or 2 new guns from the Chinese that they built themselves, which is kind of cool. Or I believe derived off the L7. Something like that. I don't really care. Because they're not game-breaking. They're not meta-defining. These tanks aren't insane, and the planes aren't really insane. You might argue that the extra cannon on the MiG-21 is going to make the difference. But honestly, you can see from the background footage here that it really doesn't make that much of a difference. That 30mm cannon is basically the same as the one on the MiG-19, and you know if you've flown the MiG-19 and the MiG-19S that the extra cannon really doesn't make a difference. It's the positioning of the cannon that counts. And in this case, they're both positioned roughly in the same spot. So it doesn't bloody matter. The Chinese tech tree and every other major patch that gets added to this game is mainly down to the community. The community said, we want helicopters, we want rank 7, rank 9, whatever tanks, we want the 2A5, we want the T90, we want this, we want that, and Gaijin goes, oh, the community wants it, so we have to try and put some work towards it. Lo and behold, they rush their development, and it comes out terrible. Helicopters are useless because the SPAA are way too strong, because originally the helicopters were too strong, and they didn't have the time for development. Well, what do you do there? Maybe Gaijin's just incompetent, and, there's a good case for that. But at the same time, you have to realize that the community is a massive driving force when it comes to Gaijin's development. The community says, we want this, we want that, give us this, hurry up, give us new game modes, hurry up, give us map rotation, give us this, give us that, and it never ends. And this is all that Gaijin sees, and every 3 months when everyone gets fed up with the hype, we go, fuck you, Gaijin, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And it just keeps going on in a ridiculous cycle because the community is not patient enough. Do you remember where the map rotation filter idea first arose in the War Thunder community? It's in the Angle Better podcast with Slickby and Kath and Rhoda and Croc. These guys dreamed that up in January. Or even earlier, I can't exactly remember. But it was a while ago. It's finally getting added to the game, very slowly. They finally found a way to add night vision, which is an extra mechanic, which is good. It adds some depth to gameplay. But people want to look past all that and see the Chinese tree as a lazy asset flip. There are over 60 vehicles coming to this patch, plus an extra mechanic, plus map rotation filters, plus a new map that may or may not be crap, but we'll see. There is a lot of work that goes into these patches. And we do not give Gaijin the credit that they deserve. Instead, we look at a couple of small things, or a couple of somewhat larger things, and go, we don't like them. It's time for the community to take a step back and figure out what we really want. We can't just blurt out what we want, what we think we want, and then when we actually get it, we realize we don't want it. The War Thunder community has to be one of the most self-entitled communities that I've ever seen on the internet. And this is exactly what it does. It creates a company that becomes disenfranchised and disconnected with their community. Then they end up doing things anyway, and the community despises them for it, and it continues in a cycle. The War Thunder community might think, yeah, being nice to Gaijin is stupid because they're not nice to us, so fuck them. But be the bigger adult. Every single time something comes up, be the bigger adult.
With Gaijin, they work off respect. If you respect them, they will respect you. And if you treat them like shit, like giving PR people mental breakdowns every time they go on the subreddit and getting people to quit their moderating position because they're absolutely sick of taking people's bullshit, then we're at a bit of a problem here. We need to realize as a community that this doesn't work, and that if we keep yelling at them, we may eventually get something that we don't want. Like the Chinese tech tree. Personally, I don't really care. I think the Chinese tech tree is going to be great fun. But for those of you who don't want it, just don't play it.